This is Joey Pags, Joe Skaggybag, also known as Joey Claptrap, Joey Pags Pagliarulo, also known as Joey Rolos. Not because it comes from Rulo, but because he likes that particular candy. He hot shoots them, which I think is a mistake. You don't want to eat a hot Rolo. That caramel gets up to a temperature. Don't microwave your Rolos. It's bad. Okay, so Joey Pags Claptrap has Trump on, I think.
Thanks a lot for stopping by. Always a pleasure to have this man back. It's an honor every single time. The 40.
Yeah, he's not there. He's on the phone.
45th president of.
What the fuck is the graphics on this? What'd you do? Use the invite he gave you to his divorce?
The United States, Donald J. Trump. Mr. Trump, how are you, sir?
I'm very good, Joe. Thank you very much.
You're beyond.
I'm great. That's why I'm on the Joey Pags show. I'm really banging against that. People speak very highly.
I'm very good. So I was a television news anchor in Michigan.
And then, look, so you both lost your job.
For 8 years. I was on the streets as a reporter.
Yeah, but you were on the streets for another reason.
Know that state very well. They love you there, and I'll never forget what you did.
Well, there's a lot of militias.
In 2016 at about 3 o'clock in the morning in Grand Rapids, and about 5,000 people showed up to cheer you on as you went on to beat Hillary Clinton. Why is Michigan so important to you?
Because we lost, and I have a hard time dealing with the loss because I'm a lonely, broken man, and my father never loved me, and my kids, there's just a distance there I can't bridge. I think it happened when they were very young. You know, they say the first 6 years are important. I think I'm going through menopause.
Well, I just seem to have an affinity for the state.
I just seem to have an affinity for the state.
Given the Man of the Year award, Joe, years ago, like 11 or 12 years ago, and I used to tell them, why are you countries like Mexico to take your cars, your automobile manufacturing business away? And I don't know. I've always felt that Michigan just let so much get away. It's got such assets, and it just let so much go away. I mean, if you look at the old days where they manufactured.
Oh, yeah, I remember the old days. You guys remember the old days?
Cars, and compare that to now, it's like peanuts.
It is a lot like peanuts. That's a good analogy.
So there are a lot of things.
Back in the old days, they didn't have peanuts. Now it's like peanuts. Back then, it was like fucking cashews.
It's going to happen in Michigan, but I have a lot of friends there, and I've done.
He has no friends.
Done very well there. I won, in my opinion, I won by the second time by much more than I won the first time.
Yes.
But in my opinion,
bad things happen. Bad things.
Yes, your election strategy for one.
Things happen. You understand that, but
yeah, they award the Man of the Year thing, and yeah, it was made up.
I wanted
He got it from the same committee that gave Rand Paul Ophthalmologist of the Year.
First time. We did better the second time than we did the first time.
Because of mail-in voting, which you think can't be trusted.
And it's just a great state.
Boiled peanuts are great. Who said boiled peanuts yuck? Hold on. Hold fast. Wait a second. Give me a goddamn break. Shut the fuck up, man. Listen here. Nobody attacks boiled peanuts on my watch, man. Them things are good. That is some salty gooey. Boiled peanuts are great. And you can get them. The best kind are the kind you get on the side of the road or canned. There was this kid, Charles, who went to this is a true story, went to my elementary school, middle school. His mom used to give him boiled peanuts in his fucking lunch every day. And I was like, what the fuck? I said that about a lot of stuff, but in particular about boiled peanuts. And he's like, yeah, I don't even know. And I'm like, you're right, I don't even know. That's fucking nasty, man. It looks like you've been like taxiderming squirrel testicles or something. And he's like, give him a shot. And I was like, all right. He dared me or something. That's usually how you do it. And I pop that shell open, toss those things back. Man, that was good. Come on. Forget it. All right, there's my little diatribe on boiled peanuts.
And we had a great rally. You probably heard. You probably saw it. But we had a great rally.
He didn't.
Yeah, this last Saturday.
Yeah, it was great. The people who really missed out are the ones who didn't come or left early.
I watched it in its entirety. I don't get it, Mr. Trump. I'll be honest with you.
I don't get a lot of things.
Watch you for an hour and 45 minutes, light the crowd up. At the end, you're doing the Trump, a patented dance. You're catching hats and signing things, and you've got energy for days. And then we look at the guy in the White House, and he can't get from point A to point B, and he can't read a teleprompter.
And yet he manages to pass an infrastructure bill and wage increases and turn the federal fleet electric and all those wonderful and you couldn't get any of that shit done.
What is it that keeps you going? You could have been golfing. Instead, you were 2 hours in front of a big crowd.
Money, Joey, money. He's broke. He's broke as fuck. And if he doesn't do these rallies, he doesn't get paid.
In Michigan.
Thank you, Jose.
Yeah, but it was a lot of love in that crowd.
Yeah.
So much love. There was a lot of love. I can always tell because people are wearing me on their shirt.
Yeah, that place was packed, thousands and thousands of people, and
Thousand.
And they were there for 3-4 days in some cases.
Oh, God. They were there for... No, it just felt like that.
They get there 2, 3, 4 days early, and they're fun. The greatest show on earth.
Why? There was plenty of fucking room. People left.
They call it. But
The greatest show on earth, they call it. No, they do not.
You're right. I got more publicity for catching the hat. It was from a long distance. Catching the hat and catching the pen that was thrown at my foot. That was probably, I got better publicity on that than I did anything else. It's kind of crazy, but that was a great evening. We had a lot of fun that night.
I've got 16 stations in Michigan, as you know.
Which is actually a bigger audience than you had at your rally. How do you feel about that?
Tudor Dixon's been on the show a couple of times. Right. She's amazing.
Yeah, she so is. And she's got a great name.
Tudor Dixon is she's somebody from manufacturing, understands that it's the Motor City, understands automotive is number 1 in Michigan, and number 2 is agriculture. How well is she doing? Right. I know that it's tight, but Whitmer is such a mess. I can't imagine.
Such a mess.
Imagine her holding on to that office.
Well, you don't have to imagine it. You'll be able to see it.
Well, Tudor Dixon is a fantastic person, and she just lost her father. He passed away recently, and that was very tough for her. But she's a fantastic person.
What is that?
She was in the steel industry. She knows so much about what happened to this country in terms of trade. A disaster.
Yes.
China with trade, and I put the big tariffs on the steel industry, and we say,
the Obama administration put those on.
China steel, we put massive tariffs. They were dumping steel and destroying our businesses, and
again, that happened during Obama.
Aluminum and a lot of other products, and it was
name the metals that you put. You filled it out. You sat in meetings, right, about what metals and what grades and what particulars and how much tonnage and all that kind of stuff, right? You sat through all that. You got to be able to rattle off more than just metal and aluminum, right?
It was great for the steel. We wouldn't have a steel industry right now, Joe. And she understood it, and her father understood it, and he was. And
unfortunately, he's dead, so she's the only person that understands it. I don't understand it, Joey. You don't understand it.
A real pro, but he understood it.
Oh God.
And she's running, and I hear she's doing fantastically.
You were just with her.
Well, a lot of the rally centered around her. And
no, it didn't. It did not. She had like a minute.
We also have, as you know, running for AG, Matt DiPerno.
Right.
And you also know Christina, who's been fantastic. So
Christina who?
And some other
Christina Bob.
Other people. But we
can't remember her last name.
We had a rally that had such spirit, you wouldn't believe it. I would say based on the rally, she should win. And based on the fact that our businesses are being stolen out of Michigan, nothing changes there. We should really be.
Okay, hold on. First of all, if I may, there you go. Here you go. Let's just start with the fact that Whitmer just, they're going to make insulin in Michigan. She just signed a bill to do that. Electric car charger manufacturer facility is going to hire 133 people. Michigan offers incentives to Chinese-owned manufacturers, bringing jobs back from China. Yeah, this is there's a but on this. So let's see what the look, don't vote for her. She did this, but it sucks. Legislators, Governor Gretchen Whitmer, go all in on select corporate subsidies, attempting to pick winners and losers. That's how you do it. You gotta do it. You're gonna pick the SOAR Fund, Strategic Outreach and Attraction Reserve, was created in December 2021 with an initial allocation of $1 billion. Now it will now receive $846.1 million more because from the federal government. The decision to add more to the fund received widespread media attention. The most comprehensive analysis is like fewer than found that job announcements rarely turn into jobs. Fewer than 20% of the jobs promised when new deals are made public come into existence. Yeah, not under her. Okay, so these are the major projects funded over the past 15 years and the subsidies. What's she going to do, though? Paid out $1.2 billion, $1 billion to various companies in the market, blah, blah, blah. Let's see. In the past year, state of Michigan approved $100 million to pay out to Ford, pledge of 3,000 jobs, $600 million for General Motors, which state lawmakers in the media said would create more and retain 5,000 jobs. Said only 3,200 are required. So all right. And they had to last only 6 months for GM to comply with the deal. Opposition from the spend. Well, are you going to start up that many jobs and dump that many jobs at the same time? What are you going to hire a bunch of salespeople? Anyways, so obviously that's a bunch of stuff that's happening in Michigan manufacturing. Let's see, round 2. Let me look real quick. GM expands operations in Michigan for EV manufacturing. There you go. This is is this the Washington Free Beacon? Yep, there we go. So this is the Trump fans. In latest sign of a recession, U.S. manufacturing growth plummets in 2-year low. U.S. manufacturing activity grew at its slowest pace in nearly 2.5 years in September as new orders contracted and aggressive interest rate increases from the Federal Reserve to cool demand and tame inflation. Notice that it grew at its slowest pace. It is still indeed growing, which means we're not in a recession. You gotta, all right.
Be doing well. I think she's going to do very well.
It's the
Ed, if she does it, it's not my fault. I only let her talk for like 2 minutes, and she fucked it up.
45th President of the United States, Donald J. Trump. Mr. Trump, you may or may not know this. I was at Mar-a-Lago for the 2,000 Mules premiere.
I didn't see anyone there. Honestly, I was so fucked up on chocolate cake. Like, all I remember is ceiling tiles. Honestly, Joe.
I had an amazing time. I was
I remember.
invited by Dinesh and his family. I was there with my mother was celebrating her 80th birthday, and I brought her as my date, and she just had a night that she'll
Let me tell you, those bets are comfy. Sorry.
never forget. You know what? Rudy Giuliani gave her a kiss on the forehead. She hasn't washed her forehead yet.
Why? Because it's a crime scene?
Oh, well, I understand that with Rudy. Rudy's great. He's a warrior, that guy. Let me tell you, they try and demean him. They do everything they can to hurt Rudy, but he was right. I mean, if you take
they do everything. They refuse to pay him. It's cruel.
take a look at what he was doing and what he was saying, whether it was about Ukraine or anything else. I mean, he was largely right. I think he was maybe completely right, but Rudy's a warrior.
Or maybe partially right, but mostly right. Also, he's slightly right.
So your mother has very good taste.
Well, I'd have to ask Rudy what her forehead tastes like.
I thought 2,000 Mules was incredible. That was both an incredible evening, but also a very sad evening.
It was.
Yes, it was so sad because there was all this evidence in the movie and none of it was true. And then I found out later that the guy with the backpack was an actor. I literally, people had to pry me off of Dinesh.
You saw all the ballot stuffing going on. And
No, it was amazing.
It's cameras. I mean, Joe, these are cameras that are watching. And what?
Yeah, why won't the cameras the cameras just sit there watching. Why don't they get up and do something, God damn it?
And then you'll hear them say, well, that's been debunked. There's been nothing debunked. You know, they
I debunked the whole thing. I went through the entire movie. Fuck you.
say it routinely. I watched an anchor, actually, in this case.
And you watched an anchor? Really? Were you scuba diving?
It was an anchor on Fox.
Oh, an anchor on Fox. So they just have like a fish tank with a bubbling treasure chest and a little anchor next to it. They put it on at night. Honest to God, I'm out. I'm right out.
And the anchor said, "Oh, well, that's been completely debunked," like it was debunked. And the person
Was debunked.
bringing it up said, "Oh, I didn't know that." They had no idea. They just say it. It wasn't debunked. You can't debunk it
I did debunk it. It's been debunked. There's 2 bunks. I debunk bedded it.
because
I debunked it and put it to bed. It's now in one of the bed bunks.
it's people
Debunk beds.
that walk in, and you watch them looking up at the cameras. They're obviously, why are they looking at cameras? They're looking all over the place.
Yeah, it's like people who plead the 5th. You just know they're fucking guilty. Am I right? You know what I mean? You guys know what I mean. What I mean. You know what I mean.
And then they started wearing gloves when they started getting them for the, for the fingerprints. So then all of a sudden they started wearing gloves. But
When they started getting them for the fingerprints, the fuck are you talking about?
there was no debunking. That was, I think they said 5 million votes they captured.
Well,
Yes, all of them, for the record, all 5 million were fake Trump votes. All the stuffed votes were Trump votes. He lost by 7 million votes. It was obvious to anybody who watched. And you can, if you watch 2,000 Mules, they're very clear that they don't know who the votes were for. And if you go by the people who've been arrested for voting twice, largely Trump voters. So just to clarify, I think it's important to say that.
They told us
ultimately.
in that movie that easily you could have won at least 3, if not all 5 states. And here's the bottom line.
If you just paid for it, if you just bought a few more fake votes, if you'd only, I mean, it's one thing to turn on some of the mules afterwards after you paid them so little, and then
we watched them do it, and geo-tracking has been confirmed by the Chief Justice John Roberts as a good form of surveillance. In fact, he told the government you can't use geo-tracking because it violates the 4th Amendment. So the idea that it's debunked, Mr. President, as you said, is complete bunk, is what it is.
No, actually, the neighborhood that they were in, them passing by voting places does not mean them stopping at voting places. There is no indication that they geolocated those people to those spaces in any special way, because those drop boxes were near stop signs in the people's neighborhood. There's almost no way their geo-tracking wouldn't show it. If it showed them on the grounds at the thing, literally that precisely within 3 feet range, you might have a case, but it doesn't, and you don't.
Yeah, nonsense. It's nonsense, and it was fact, and it's on tape. They just couldn't show all 5 million. Okay.
Yeah, they have it all on tape. They have all 5 million on tape because I gave them the list of who I bought votes from, and they had them. And then the plan was, if I lost, just say I really won, and then turn in the people that we hired, because we didn't tell them who the votes were for, and they weren't even allowed to look, or one of my guys would rough them up. So,
but they have these were incredible. Catherine Engelbrecht.
Yes,
it's Truth to Vote. These were incredible.
It's True the Vote. It's Truth Social, True the Vote. I don't even know why. But please tell me again how Biden's slipping.
Patriots, so they went out and they did a job, and people don't want to hear it. They don't want to talk about it.
Terrible. There's obviously a giant conspiracy. Why do we get away with this every single fucking time? Knocks his block off. There's nothing you can do. You try to.
And when you talk about Michigan, Detroit was so corrupt. Nobody's ever seen anything. It's always been corrupt.
Yes.
Detroit.
Yeah. Nobody's ever seen anything. It's always that way.
With the elections, has always been corrupt. And they found nothing. Think of it, nothing.
Yeah, it was corrupt up until this one. And then apparently they fixed what the corruption was just in time for me to lose. I paid for that corruption, Joe. You don't understand. I was counting on that corruption. We had that corruption locked. And then all of a sudden, there's no corruption. What do you mean there's no corruption? I paid top dollar for that corruption.
And if you look at the amount of bad votes you had the last time compared to the amount of bad votes this time, with all of the mail-in ballots, Detroit was just a total mess, a disgrace. But they find nothing. They never find anything.
No, they never do. They don't find anything. It's laying all over the place. You can't see it. You can smell it. It's right there.
It wasn't just Detroit.
Tremendous cheating.
It was also Atlanta. It was Atlanta.
Yeah, Atlanta, Michigan is one of the worst county cities.
It was Phoenix,
100%.
Arizona.
Philadelphia.
I mean, if you Philadelphia.
Right.
So you look at these places.
And like Trump's like, no, black cities. Stick with the black cities. Don't piss off the Hispanics. Phoenix is a lot of Hispanics, and that'll.
Where we know that something wrong was going on. We're heading into a big election now, Mr. President. In 2022, a month and a half from now, a little over a month, you've got people going to go to the polls, and every single day across this nation, 170 stations, people are saying, Pags, ask him how we can trust our vote this November.
Yeah, you've said, don't vote. Why would I bother? Well, you can't, you know. It was a rigged and stolen election, but you got to, I think my pillow said, you got to overwhelm the algorithm by being the algorithm. Be the ball, Danny.
Can they?
Of course.
Well, they made some improvements. They didn't do it as tough as they should. They made some improvements. The best way is just swamp them. If you swamp them.
Yeah, vote everywhere. Vote early. Vote by mail. Vote online. Polling. And vote on Elon Musk's poll. Vote from using your sister's name. If you have a wife and she won't, maybe consider her disappearance. I don't know. That worked for us before. Vote.
But I swamped in Pennsylvania. I believe I won by almost 1 million votes, and that wasn't enough, you know.
Yeah, I bought 1 million votes and still got fucked. Joey, what am I even doing? Where am I? What is this all about, Alfie?
They beat you by a hair, you know. They beat you by a little bit.
Yes.
And we had some.
A hair is a little bit? Okay, good.
Great in Arizona. We did fantastically well. You saw the report, and the report came out, and the report talked about all of the problems, and yet the press didn't want to report it. You know, the press just...
You know, is it real? It's like, if a tree falls in the woods, does it make a sound? It's the same thing. If you have a report and no one reports it, is it really a report, or is it just some pages of bullshit? It's a tough one. It's very tough. It's one of the great questions. If a report is never reported, is it really a report? I don't know. I'm thinking.
Just didn't want to report it.
They didn't want to report it. I see. So it was a report, but they just didn't want to report it. But it still remains a report. It's like Schrodinger's cat.
We have a very corrupt media. We have a very corrupt election system.
Mm-hmm. Yes, which is why every other Republican should just quit en masse, because they don't want to be a fraud and take a seat that they didn't earn when you lost. Because if it was fraudulent across the fucking board. If a Republican won, obviously it was part of some sort of deep state conspiracy. And the media is not trustworthy. So how can you trust a guy who's on AM radio across the entire fucking country? He's obviously on the take. Run.
And I think, you know, I've taught people that, but it is true. It's
He what people that? Hold on. Beg your pardon?
Press just didn't want to report it. We have a very corrupt media. We have a very corrupt election system. And I think, you know, I've taught people that.
I taught people that. He said taught. Yeah, Professor Funbags. Taught. Yeah. I have an honorary doctorate from what's that place that gave Bill Cosby made him a gynecologist, whatever that was, from that place.
But it is true. It's, you know, I say the vote counter in this country, unfortunately, is more important than the candidate.
And you're absolutely right about that. It's for
Totally. Yeah.
President Donald Trump.
So the machines, they've taken over.
Mar-a-Lago. So you weren't there when the FBI shows up with 30 people in a surprise raid.
Dear God.
Calling it a search warrant. The guy who signed the search warrant is a guy that admitted bias and could not be the judge in the case that you brought against Hillary Clinton. How does this wash? And now, Mr.
Well, I mean, he does know you're an asshole. So,
President, do you think they waited till you weren't there? I found it very
yes, they did.
Suspicious
because they didn't want to cuff him and have him stand outside of Mar-a-Lago. That would have been bad optics.
That they knew you weren't there the day they decided to go and do it.
Yeah, they came by and they sniffed the gate, and you could just tell. Because it smelled like, you know, fresh cut grass and that kind of stuff. It didn't smell like Ben Gay and Old Spice covering diarrhea.
because they had the warrant since Friday. They waited till Monday.
Yeah. Unprecedented what they did, and it's a disgrace. And
Yeah, but the same thing can be said of you and the shit you took. It's like Ted Bundy going, clearly they overreacted coming for me. I mean, this is they're acting like I killed 9 co-eds at once.
it's an embarrassment to our country.
You are.
And the people get it. The people
They do. They get it. They get a search warrant if they steal stuff.
get it. And my poll numbers are higher than they've ever been.
Yeah.
And
That must hurt. Why couldn't they have been that much higher right before the election? But I guess they took a shit then too. Yeah.
people are seeing what's going on in the country, and yet nothing happens when they burn down Portland or they take over.
Yeah, Portland. Nobody is anybody in the chat or used to be from Portland? Anybody live in Portland Crater now? Portland's so sad. I miss Portland. It's terrible. No one's from Portland anymore. It's sad. Rest in Portland. That's what it is. It's gone. It's gone forever. Poor Portland. They burned it to the ground. Just ashes. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Thank you, Kathy. That's so sweet for the super chat. Bless you.
Seattle. Remember they took over a big swatch of Seattle.
Right.
They did. They took over the Swatch store actually, and they stole all the swatches. And nobody in Portland can paint anything anymore because there are no swatches. They took over there was just one big green swatch that they're like, we're gonna paint all of Portland green, in a faux environmentalist attack. A big what?
What's going on in the country? It's an embarrassment to our country, and the people get it. The people get it, and my poll numbers are higher than they've ever been, and
true.
people are seeing what's going on in the country, and yet nothing happens when they burn down Portland or they take over Seattle. Remember they took over a big swatch of Seattle.
Right.
That's right. I'm sorry. It was this. My bad. A retraction. I beg your pardon. It was the Swatch store in Seattle. I didn't know they still had one. I thought it was up in Bellevue.
Right smack in the middle of the city, and
Yeah. No. I'm pretty sure. Hold on. If it's still even there, hold on. Swatch store, Seattle. I think it's you can't. Even, there's not even an actual Swatch. Yeah, here it is. Hold on. Oh, that's so sad. Yeah, it's gone. It's permanently closed. The Swatch store. It's so terrible. Can't believe it. It's gone. I can't believe they took the Swatch store. It's not there anymore. All right, hold on one second. That's so funny though. Swatch store. Seattle. When did it close? That's what I want to know. Let's see. Closed. Swatch store, Washington. There's yeah. Okay, there's a mall. Swatch. There's a list of the Swatch stores there. Yeah, they're gone. It's got see the weird thing is according to Shop Sleuth, there are there's 29 mall stores across the United States and 0 locations in Washington. They took over the Swatch store and turned it into a fossil.
nothing happens to them.
Outlet.
And all of the other things.
All of it.
Minneapolis. If I didn't send in the National Guard in Minneapolis, you wouldn't have a city
You wouldn't have a Minneapolis.
that was standing.
You have a Minneapolis.
And I'm not supposed to be doing that. The governor's supposed to be doing
Yeah, why? But we're not supposed to send federal troops into cities, but fuck that. The president should be able to send federal troops in no matter what the governor says. Right, conservatives? Yeah, go team.
it.
Right.
But and very little, nothing happens to those people. And yet they go after others on January 6th.
Others, that's what they're otherizing.
The Unselect Committee. It's unbelievable. It's actually a very, very It's a very
Sick. It's sad. It's sad and sick. It's very sick and sad.
very dangerous time in our country, not only for what's happening inside with our crooked politicians, but very dangerous when they're mentioning nuclear weapons at the outside.
Yes.
And we don't have the people that know. We do not have the people that know how to handle it or know what's going on.
Know how to handle nuclear weapons, or know how to negotiate with someone who's going to use them, or know how to retaliate, or know how to use the anti-ballistic missile defense systems that we have. All of it. Fuck it.
The nuclear thing is the biggest threat.
Isn't it?
Former President Donald Trump, I just want to finish up on Mar-a-Lago. You guys agreed. You were in negotiations. You put an extra lock on the door. They, for some reason, showed up when you weren't there and took these 15 boxes that were safe in the office of the former president. You have your own skiff there. You've got security
No, he doesn't.
there. It was protected. Mr. President,
No, it wasn't.
the only time we found out anything that may or may not have been at Mar-a-Lago was after they took it and started leaking it out.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean he wasn't sharing it with other people, fucko. That doesn't mean it was safe there. Just because you didn't hear about who got... That's the whole point of fucking... That's why they call it spying, you dumb fuck.
So what do you think the game is here?
They're just trying to attack America by attacking me.
You know, what you said is very interesting. Nobody ever heard any leaks or anything, any problems. And then
Yes, and now they know I've got classified documents. I had... Everybody I came by, they kept their mouth shut until these stupid FBI agents...
all of a sudden, when they take it out and they put it into NARA or wherever they have it, all of a sudden things started leaking out.
Right.
The documents started leaking out.
No, they didn't. None of the documents have leaked out.
And they wouldn't let us have lawyers there. They wouldn't let us have any representation. So who knows
His lawyer was there and signed off.
what was planted? Who knows what was put in there? Who knows what was taken out?
Yeah, because that's the FBI does. You know, he obviously... Whoever put the guy who was in charge of the FBI in there would know probably better than the rest of us how they you know, because fish stinks from the head. So I forget who put in the current head of the FBI, but whoever that fucker was obviously gave this person like a, you know, carte blanche to crime.
And, you know, if you look at the group, it's a largely radical left run, NARA.
Right.
And you look at it, and, you know, they have a problem with the
Fucking hippies.
Constitution of the United States. I
Why?
think it's a dangerous document. I believe they said.
The people from NARA said the Constitution is a dangerous document.
And also the various things like can you imagine? They have a big problem. They say it's a dangerous document. I think they flagged it or something with the Constitution of the United States and various and sundry other things that we...
Yes, various, you know, like the terms of service on the Apple Watch and the thing that's written on a barf bag on planes and what the fuck?
Read when we were growing up in our history class.
Yes, the NARA considers classic American documents to be too violent to be read in school.
It's disgraceful what's going on.
Yes, sundry other things like toothbrushes and that little shower cap they give you in hotels. Those are sweet.
It is. It's former President Donald Trump, 45th
But
president
the
of the
rate
United
is
States.
totally...
Go ahead.
The rate is totally unprecedented, Joe. Nobody's ever said anything like that.
Well, I can't
Nobody.
believe it. I mean, they break into the home of what will...
They didn't break in. They were let in. They didn't kick in a door. They walked in. The door was open. Someone literally held the door for them.
be I believe the political rival of the current president using the executive branch.
No.
This is unprecedented. It's actually disgusting. It's like something that Hitler would have done.
No. If Hitler would have done it, if that's the analogy you're using, this guy would be dead right now, and I guess you would be talking to a recording or somebody who does an impersonation. Maybe he's right. Maybe Biden is Hitler, and Trump's been dead for 6 months, and they got this poser dude doing an inverted beer hall push.
Talking about that, did you? I'm guessing you saw.
By the way, Joe, you may want to know that it just was revealed. Bush had a warehouse, totally unsecure warehouse.
What?
The father had a warehouse too. So you had Bush 1 and Bush 2 Clinton with the emails, 33,000 emails. After getting a subpoena,
Right.
they were all deleted and they were
Well, they certainly didn't get out, did they?
acid washed, and then their phone was knocked to hell with a hammer.
Right.
Knocked to hell with a hammer.
And you just take a look. And with Obama, he had, I think, 33 million pages
Right.
of stuff
That all went through NARA, through proper channels. So did Clinton. So did Bush.
that is still
So stupid.
in controversy. But,
No, it isn't. You are trying to make a controversy out of it.
you know, nothing happens there. But with us, it's a different kind of a story. It's disgraceful.
It is, but and it's even beyond what I thought they would have done to you. It's former President Donald Trump. Joe Biden walks out a month or so ago, and he's got a blood red background, and he's doing gesticulations like Hitler may have, and he literally
Yes. By the way, don't threaten Trump with a good time. He literally does his walk around the stage because he saw Hitler do it. And he's like, that's powerful.
said, anybody who believes in "Make America Great Again," the actual slogan for your campaign, if you're a MAGA person, that's all it is. It's a slogan. If you're a MAGA person, 75 million of us are. I am. Then you're bad. You're evil. You're against democracy, and you're a violent threat in this country. This is the uniter. When you saw that,
Yeah, I would argue that he was making a distinction between those 75 million voters who voted Republican, voted for the Republican president. Not all of them consider themselves MAGA and are leaving this asshole in the dust. And that it was actually a PR scheme to create the exact schism that's happening.
just tell me what goes through your mind.
Well, I thought it was a very sad day. But we
It's so sad because he's president and I'm not. How did it happen? He was in the basement. I had rallies. Half the people at the rallies are at all the rallies, so technically speaking, they're only half full. But that's not important.
We've had a lot of sad days. Look, the stock
Yes, you have. And you ain't seen nothing yet, buddy.
market is dropping at a level that's almost record. It
Right.
might even right now be record for the last 6 or 7 months. But the stock market is going down. People are being absolutely killed on their 401ks. I'm asking people, how are you doing on your 401ks? As I sarcastically ask, and
Right.
they start going crazy because they're down 40, 50% over a little while. I mean, the stock market is substantially lower.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, somebody's kicking in one. Yeah, the S&P as of October 4th is up 3%. Yeah, plus 112 points.
Than it was when I
Hold on. Yeah. It's 29. There you go. Here's 2020, and then it's like January 2021. Where are we? That's December 18th, 2020. Doink, 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 doink. Whoops, where are we? It's January 15th. It closes. 3814. It's basically 3316. It's about 500 points within the margin because we're in a war. Dow, hey, this is obviously depressing. Dow rallies more than 1,500 points in 2 days. S&P posts best 2-day gain since 2020. Stop it. The worst we've never seen. This is the worst. This is the worst it's ever been. Okay, this is terrible. It's so bad. Like no one's even seen. Like back. This is worse than it was in 1988, maybe 1917, when the Spanish flu was really big. It's worse than it was in 2008. It's certainly worse than, it never went up during Obama. And then it certainly didn't cadaver and zero out in my last year in office and then try to claw its way back up and then get really high and then go back and then kind of even out and then hump and then keep going up. It didn't do that. Jesus.
handed it over. Think of it. And I had
During
we went through
COVID.
the COVID thing.
Yeah.
I will say this. We had the greatest economy in the history of the world. We were doubling up on China. There was never anything like it. Then COVID came in. By the time, and we did
We've heard this before, by the way.
Operation
Horseshit.
Warp Speed and so
Son of a bitch. I don't have my Operation Fart Steed thing.
So much incredible work. By the time I handed that back after that rigged and stolen election, I handed it back. The stock market.
Sorry, he said rigged and stolen election. Beg your pardon.
What?
Just for the record. There you go.
Was higher than it was before COVID coming in, and it was higher than it is right now.
Amazing.
And that was 2 years ago.
It's former President Donald Trump. You've got crime is the number one issue for Americans today. It's not abortion. It's not left versus right politics. It's crime. I can't send my kid to school. I
thought the economy was the. Never
can't walk down the street.
You can't send your kids to walk down the street.
New York City, Mr. President, where you and I are from and we love, they've got carjackings there on the regular now. It makes no sense. Philadelphia is a mess. Chicago's a mess. Detroit's a mess. These
No, they aren't.
big cities aren't getting any better under Democrat rule. Are the people that are running to win this November, 1 month from now, are they doing a good enough job letting people know I'm going to bring back criminal justice? We're going to make the streets safe again.
Well, I think the Republicans have to be very strong. I mean, we have an attorney general in New York, Letitia James.
Oh, man. Good Lord.
Ridiculous.
Letitia Peekaboo James, I call her.
Jesus Christ. Peekaboo James. I am not going to repeat the word that he means to say.
She is so bad. And frankly, she couldn't care less about murders, and she couldn't care less about rape. She doesn't care about drug dealers.
No, just they just let everybody out.
She doesn't care.
Yep, they don't even prosecute them. Let's see. Let's see. This is September 17th. This is recent or whatever. Here you go. This is Letitia James's website. Attorney General, okay, Media Center, press releases. Let's just September. That's just for the day. Attorney General announces 172 guns turned in at Onondaga County gun buyback. Okay, that was the first thing that came up there. Let's go to press releases. Delivers $2 million to Erie County to bolster consumer protection programs. Statement on the death of FDNY EMS Lieutenant Allison Russo Elling. Statement on Attorney General's on court tossing latest NRA effort to avoid consequences. Attorney General's Office of Special Investigation released a report on the death of Christopher Van Cleek. Statement on relief efforts for Puerto Rico. James leads coalition to support fast food restaurant workers. Consumer alert. Attorney General urges New Yorkers to follow e-bike safety tips and help prevent battery fires. It releases report on the death of Wesley Soper. Platform, let's see, sues cryptocurrency platform for operating illegally and defrauding investors, urging MLB and Apple to let more fans watch tonight's political drug Yankees. Yeah, that's nice. Office of Special Investigation released a report on the death of Allison Lake, Janet Jordan. These are all the actual cases they're putting forward. Calls for investigation to Puerto Rico energy provider because the office is there. Energy standards for American families. 172. There we go. That's where we were on the 16th. Simran Gordon opens investigation into civilian death in Utica. Former New York State Supreme Court Justice. Sentencing of former New York State Court Justice. Yeah, there you go. AG recovers $50 million from cigarette companies. Investigations into civilian death. Okay, Jesse. But so they're the major state like murder and death cases. She's doing stuff on. Let's see, programs, resources, charities ready to go. Frequently asked questions, employment and complaint forms. Make a FOIL request. Freedom of Information Law request. Initiatives. These are the initiatives that she's put forward. Animal Protection, Conviction Review Bureau, Debt Settlement and Collection, Cuffs. Find out more about Attorney General's effort to combat financial fraud in upstate New York. That's the part he has a problem with. For education programs, human trafficking, land bank community revitalization, immigration services fraud, Medicaid fraud, New York open government, for transparency and good government, pennies for charity, Office of Special Investigation. This is where you're going to find a lot of law enforcement stuff. Here's the OSI's 2021 report. Recommendations: body-worn cameras, video in jails and prisons, training police for behavioral health emergencies, suicide prevention in jails and prisons, drug overdose prevention in jails and prison. This is one of their primary things that they're working on for the Office of Special Investigations. There you go. Okay, so that's what she's working on too.
Care about anything. All she wants to do is sue Trump.
That's it.
That's it. That's everything. She sues me for being cruel to dogs. She sues me for like bail reform. She sues me to make sure people don't commit suicide in jail. And by the way, I barely knew Jeffrey Epstein. And did Ghislaine Maxwell mention my name when I walked at one point when she was arrested? Did she ever, like, even just a little?
You actually campaigned, I will sue Trump, but she is just horrible. She's incompetent. And
she seems to have your number, though. She's incompetent, but she managed to depose you and your whole family.
She shouldn't even be allowed to be attorney general, frankly. But that's one of the problems, one of the big problems you have with New York. I think carjackings are up 786% or something like that.
Yeah.
I heard a number that's just crazy. Murders up, drug dealing is up like at a number never before. So we had
I love those percentages. Give me the baseline.
the safest border 2 years ago.
Yes, because of COVID.
Safest border in the history of our country. We had a rebuilt military, lowest taxes. You know, I get the biggest tax cut of any president,
Not true.
including Ronald Reagan.
Right.
Biggest
What do you mean, right? Not true.
regulation cuts in history. We knocked out ISIS. You know, we knocked
No, you didn't.
out 100%.
Literally, the suicide bomber that killed the soldiers at the airport in Kabul was ISIS.
Of ISIS, rebuilt our military, did Space Force. We did so much, and we didn't have that mess in Afghanistan, and we had the strongest border.
You didn't have that mess. You didn't get out. You ran on getting out.
Think of it. We had the strongest border in the history of our country, and now we have the weakest border. I actually think that the border is weaker than any third world country because no third world country
Wouldn't open fire on women and children.
would allow to happen to them what's
Yeah, third world countries would just dig a moat, fill it with alligators, shoot people.
happening. We have millions and millions of people pouring into our country,
And yet we still can't fill jobs.
and a lot of them are from jails of other countries. They let
Well, yeah, obviously. I mean, like, they're letting go all their wardens.
all their prisoners out into the United States, and it's not even imaginable what they're
No.
doing. They're destroying our
Well, it is imaginable because anything is imaginable, and you imagine it all the time.
country.
The 45th president of the United States, Donald J. Trump. Kerry Lake's got to win in Arizona. Tudor Dixon's got to win in Michigan. Doug Mastriano's got to win in Pennsylvania. I know that you're supporting all of them, and I know that they're doing very well, but they're all within 4 or 5 points. Does that amaze you that they're not doing better? And what do they have to do to bring this home in November?
Well, they just have to go out and fight. I mean, you know, it's a very tough situation when you look at Pennsylvania. I think Pennsylvania is a Trump state. I don't know that it's a Republican state, to be honest
Right.
with you. You know, I think we have that in Florida
What?
a little bit. Florida won by a lot. They spent many
Yeah, they're doing great.
times the money. I mean, Bloomberg came along. He put up, I think, $100 million
He did.
in addition to the 200 they spent, and I spent very little, and I won by a lot. Some of these states are Trump states, but they're not necessarily Republican states.
Right. That's important. Let's let that stew for a second. Good times.
I hear Kerry Lake is doing very well.
She's great. She's gonna do fantastic. Better than anything. Like that. The last couple of days are gonna be glorious, and then her acceptance speech is gonna be. I mean, she's gonna lose, but she's still gonna have an acceptance speech.
Actually, she's fantastic. She is fantastic, and Doug's also fantastic. He's a little bit behind, and you know, I
A little bit.
think I know reasons why that might be because
Oh yeah.
you know, there's a very principled stance on some things,
Right.
but that doesn't necessarily get you votes. You understand what I mean?
I do.
Yes, absolutely. Trump has always given up any principles that he has just for votes.
It's a tough situation.
It's former President Donald Trump. I know you've got to go. I've got one last issue to bring up, and I think I talked to you about this last time. And
Yeah, and it still isn't clear.
again, thank you for always making time for my show and for my audience.
Yeah, he doesn't really have anywhere else to go. Literally, Fox is turning down his phone calls.
Absolutely.
January.
Yeah, he needs you, Joey. He needs you more than you need him. I got news for you, Joey. People have tuned out this piece.
January 6th, Mr. Trump, that day did not help you. That day helped Joe Biden. We know that we had a senator, we had a representative. They agreed they were going to challenge votes. It was going to be unprecedented because they really would have challenged what the electors were saying because of what you and I have been talking about for 2 years now. This helped Joe Biden.
I see. So it was a Joe Biden arranged January 6th as an attack on the Capitol because he needed to win. He'd already won.
Didn't help Donald Trump.
Yeah, it did, because Mike Pence wasn't going to send the votes back so that the fake electors could swap them out. Of course it was an attempt. It didn't help because he fucked it up. Like he fucks up everything.
Why do they keep on attacking you like you did something to make January 6th happen? If those people don't riot at the Capitol, then this whole objection to votes would have continued, and we might have had a different outcome.
No, you wouldn't have, because the objections would have been just time wasters because Mike Pence had already made the decision that he was just going to count the votes and move on. That's why the attack. That's why the fucking gallows. That's why hang Mike Pence.
Why do they lay that on you? And
well, yeah, I agree too, because he's obviously he's the general of stupid generals.
They have no basis for it, but why?
Yeah.
They're sick people, because I was going to go down there with them.
Well, it's an interesting answer, and it could be a little bit long, to be honest. But
even if it isn't, it'll feel that way.
Mike Pence actually did have the right to go back to the legislature.
Then there you go. And he didn't do it, and so the attack was necessary.
With crooked votes or fraudulent votes or irregular votes.
Irregular.
And that's why they're trying to change the law right now, so he couldn't. But if you remember, they said he cannot do that. Right. He has no right to do it. He cannot, even if they're... Well, right after the election, they said, we're going to make sure the vice president doesn't ever do it again.
Yeah, doesn't try it ever again. They're taking out the ambiguous language to clarify it.
Right.
So he did have the right to do it. That was a big thing. That was a big factor. But also, if you remember, they were...
By the way, he just blew Joey Pags's fucking argument out of the water. He literally just drilled a hole in the boat.
There, specifically because they felt the election was rigged and stolen, and they didn't feel it, they knew it.
Hey, shithead, he's giving you an out. Pags was trying to insist, you didn't do this. Why would people think you did this? This didn't even help you. Biden did this. This was BLM and Antifa.
Right.
And they were there. The crowd was massive. Nobody ever talks about the crowd because
Well, it was a little pitiful. It was like a lot of people, they were cold and bored. It was kind of like they wanted to see your last hurrah, but they didn't think anything was going to come of it. And it was just their way of saying goodbye.
I think a lot of people say there were over 1 million people.
No, they don't.
There. And I believe there was. I've never,
right.
I don't believe I've ever spoken to a larger crowd. And if you take a look at that, and then I recommend it because I felt the crowd was going to be very large because people were really upset.
Right.
They were so upset. And that's why I would never say anything like, we're going to go down to the Capitol. I would never direct 1 million people to march on the Capitol and insist that I was going to go down there. Get the fuck out of here.
Really upset.
So upset. They were very, not as upset as I'd wanted because there was 1 million people and only 0.3% attacked the Capitol. I was very disappointed.
And I felt the crowd was going to be massive, so I recommended anywhere from 10 to 20,000 soldiers, troops.
That I thought I still commanded while I was president, and I was going to, then I could trigger the Insurrection Act. The first attack group would be the Proud Boys, and then the National Guard would have to either serve me as the current commander-in-chief and attack the Congress or be killed by my loyalists in there. I had this whole thing written out. It was very Pol Pot. And then they wouldn't, and then my Secret Service guys almost choked the shit out of one of them.
Be present. That recommendation was turned down by Nancy Pelosi and turned down by the mayor of Washington, D.C.
Right, because there was nothing in your speech that said, I'm going to bring these assholes to the Capitol.
So they turned down the recommendation to have troops. So therefore,
it's not my fault that my people who I told to go down there were violent. There were 1 million people, and all I told was them to walk down there and that I was going to go. And if Mike Pence didn't do what we were supposed to do, he'd have to be strong.
I certainly didn't want an insurrection because if I want an insurrection, I don't ask for 10,000 plus troops to be.
Well, sure you do. As a matter of fact, you didn't ask for the 10,000 troops. Specifically, let me be abundantly clear. Trump took the sentence out of his speech that said, we're going to walk down there and I'm going to go with you. They took the act of him going down there out because it would have tipped off the Capitol that they were coming, and they did it on purpose. He said it verbally. They left it out of the written speech so that there wouldn't be extra guards, so that the cops would be understaffed for what was going to happen.
Right.
There. And by the way, if you had 500 troops there, you wouldn't have had it. Now, the other thing is a lot of tape that they don't show, but there wasn't one gun.
There were lots of guns
from these people that went into the Capitol.
Yeah, there was. There were several. Some people came in with guns and left with their guns because the thing fucking failed and they never got a chance to shoot anyone. They chickened out, or they never heard your call, or you never instituted the Insurrection Act or any of that shit. Yeah.
It's not an insurrection, okay? Not one. I don't believe they have one gun out of all those people.
Yes, they do.
And what they're doing to those people is torture. They're torturing those people.
No, they are not. They are sitting in jail. Fuck them.
But they didn't torture Black Lives Matter.
But they should have, Joey. Why didn't they torture Black Lives Matter?
And they didn't torture Antifa
right.
for destroying the city, for destroying Portland, for destroying so many other.
Yes, I remember Portland. Goodbye, Portland. How are you?
They don't ever, even what happened in Washington with all the crime that takes place in Washington, D.C., nothing happens to those people. It is a very fair, it's a very, very unfair situation.
Yeah.
It was fair. There's a little Freudian slip for you. It was fair.
It's a very unfair double standard, I can tell you.
An unfair double standard, or a fair double standard that is unfair on one side. One part of the standard is...
Yeah, that, Joe.
And again, it helped Biden. It did not help Trump. So that whole argument doesn't make any sense.
That's because you're stupid. Joey Pags, you're a dum-dum. Your intellectual incapacities are not the fault or responsibility of the argument itself.
I know you're going to Arizona and Nevada this weekend and the Save America rallies. Keep on keeping on, my friend. Thank you.
He has to, because he needs the money.
Thank you so much for what you do for my family and for this entire country.
He doesn't do anything for your family or the country.
It's former President Donald J. Trump.
That's my favorite part, the former part.
Come back on anytime, sir.
Thank you very much, Joe. My honor.
I appreciate it.
You're so good. Everything so good. So good.